Hello everybody, in this little video I want to prevent that some people maybe get a little bit confused when they are using the Nissin Di622, and this is because it's so easy to handle and it's so easy to make a huge mistake when you are using this flash on camera. So what I'm talking about is, if you press the power button for a certain amount of seconds, you will hear that the zoom thingy is going to work and that the flash is powering on. The pilot LED will be green and the TTL will show that it works. So if you start this flash, it's automatically in TTL mode. If you go to manual, you just have to click once on the mode and then it starts with full power, and then you can with one click after the other go to half a power, quarter power, 60 eighths of power, 60 of a power, down to 1/32 of a power, and with the next click it's in TTL again. If you click it, if you hit the mode button for approximately 3 seconds, you will see that these LEDs will blink. So in full power, half power, quarter power, 1/8 of a power, 60 of a power and 32 of a power, they will blink. And what this blinking means is that you are in slave mode. This rocker is in slave mode, and as the Nissin Di622 is just triggerable, so it's you just can trigger with the flash of your camera, known as CLS on Nikon and ETTL on Canon. And what this means is, if you have this flash on camera and you are in the slave mode, it will not fire. And this is just because it's waiting for the light of the flippy floppy flash that you have on your camera. Of course not if you have a pro body like the D800, D700 or 1DX, 5D Mark III, 5D Mark II, however. Then you don't have a flippy floppy flash on it, so you will not be able to trigger it altogether. But if you have a camera with this flippy floppy flash and it's compatible with the Nissin Di622, you have to be aware that you shouldn't push the mode button longer than once or longer than 3 seconds if you have this flash on camera. So, and as this so now we are on TTL mode, and then just hit once. As you see, if it doesn't blink, it means it's a manual mode. You can use it on camera in manual mode. This automatically leads us to a down side of this entire flash, as its only way to trigger it is via the eye, what's behind this red thing here. And as long as you are inside of a room, you can trigger it without any problem with your pop-up flash. But if you are outside, then you get a less reliable flash here, and of course this is what you need if you are shooting outside not just if you're shooting outside, you always need a reliable flash. And so it depends on what you are doing if you buy a flash like that. So what happens if you're shooting outside? The sunlight, for example, will take away so much of the UV light, what's going to the flash, what has to trigger this flash, that it probably will not fire all the time when it should be. And this is very unprofessional if you are standing there working for a client and half of the time your flash isn't going to fire. So really, depending on what you are doing, you shouldn't go for something like that. Another thing is the beam assist, and I already made a video on this, why it didn't work with the Canon 400D and so forth, this whole 3-digit D range. The problem is that if you choose one of the corner focus points, so not just the points that are horizontal in the middle of the whole focus point range or vertical in the middle of this whole focus point range, this AF beam assist will not work. And if you have daylight or whatever, if you have enough ambient light, this isn't a problem at all. If you shoot in darker situation, this can be a problem, but it doesn't have to, as you can easily focus with one of the center points and then reframe, and you are all done. Another thing is, it doesn't work if you have continuous mode activated. So if your camera is in continuous mode and the AF will work continue. If you, for example, want to shoot an animal what moves and the autofocus is working continue to keep this animal tag sharp, this beam assist will not work as well. Another thing, another thing is in fact that it's worth the money. It's a good flash for the price, but you always have to consider that you get what you're paying for. So if you have if you don't shoot that much, if you don't have assignments, and if you have a main light, a main flash, what's a brand, then you always can use it as a slave or as a backup in somehow. I feel it this way: if you buy 2 of them or 3 of them, you could also buy one brand. So for example, the Canon 580 EX2 or the Nikon SB900, and I would say go for the original brand, as they are perfectly designed for your camera and for the things that you want to do with it. You don't want to have a flash that is not 100% reliable all of the time. And yeah, this is it. Because I see it this way. I said it last night in a comment on another video. I said the times that you, the money that you spend if you buy 3 times a third-party flash is in fact 0 if you finally buy the brand flash. And the amounts of adrenaline kicks that you get when the flash isn't doing what it's supposed to is really, it's countless. So I'm very sure I'm going to test this thing a little more, and I want to switch to the Canon 580 EX2, as the 600 thing is way overpriced in my opinion, and when I'm outside I need a speed light. So go off. Thanks for watching and goodbye.